Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be making a slimline card and we're going to be using this set from Picket Fence Studios. This is called After the Storm. I was just super drawn to it. You know, I love rainbows, and so in the beginning I thought maybe I was going to do a vertical card, but then for what I had kind of in my mind, I realized it would work better as a horizontal card. So it's obviously a scene card. We're going to be doing a lot of concentrating on the background that kind of sets the scene, not so much on the coloring. This card just, the focal point isn't the coloring. When you look at it, you look at like kind of the landscape. So I'm stamping my two little people and my set of clouds, and I am stamping this in alcohol safe ink because I am going to color it eventually. Just want to get that down there. And then I am going to be doing some masking. Well, we're going to be doing lots of masking, quite honestly, just for it to be a one layer card. But once I have this stamped, I'm going to go ahead and move it. And then this is my mask. I'm just creating those. For the clouds, I need the mask 2 times, though I didn't realize it in the beginning. But I actually need just the full cloud 1 time and then a partial, because I wanted my cloud to stretch across the entirety of the card. So instead of just stamping it once, I masked it and then stamp it again. You'll see that. But since we are concentrating so much on the creation of the background, I just wanted to make sure that you could see the whole process. So then once these are done and stamped, I will fussy cut them out and then apply them to my card so I can just finish up my stamping. So here's that cloud mask that we talked about, and then mask my little umbrella people. And then I'm going to put my card base back in there so that I can stamp my clouds. Now, yes, you can see what's going on here. Because it's a slimline card, it is basically as long as my Misty is. So I just turned it on its side because I'm going to be stamping on the right hand side. The left doesn't matter so much that it's hanging over there because I'm not going to be putting pressure on that anyway. If I was trying to stamp something that was closer to the edge, it would be more problematic, but I'm not. And so I didn't have any issues. So I just turned the large cloud stamp set onto its side, just so A, it wouldn't look exactly the same, and B, I wouldn't have any part of the rainbow in it. And then here's where I realized that I actually need to mask this as well. I am cheap chicken. And so I am trying to just use what I have without having to cut any more masking paper. I knew that the outer edge was all I really needed to be kind of up close and exact. So there is a portion of it that is not masked, and I'm just going to like tear off a piece of masking tape and put that over it. It doesn't matter because it's not an outside edge, just as long as it's all covered. So once that's done, I'm going to fold my mask over the edge just because that's easier for ink blending. You don't catch the masks when you're ink blending. And then I'm going to start working on the background. So for this particular card, I think it's pretty obvious to see that it's about like the rainbow and the storm versus the sunshine and all of those things. So here I'm trying to gauge, I knew I wanted to be able to see the sun rays, like the rays of light that would be coming through the cloud. And so I've trimmed a piece of masking paper here, and I'm just trying to figure out how long it needs to be to make that work for me. There is such an easier way to do this than the way that I did it, but the way that I did it doesn't require me to purchase anything else. Not that it's not wrong to purchase something else, and it's not wrong to do it this way. This way is just a little bit more labor intensive. So here I'm just going to use my ruler to draw out my sun rays. Picket Fence does have 2 different styles of stencils that are rays that you could totally use in place of this. You would just need to mask off the portion of the rays that you didn't want color to get on when you were using it. But you could totally use a stencil for this, 110%. it would probably be much faster. But if you don't have a stencil, like I don't have a stencil, this is the way you can do it. So once I have all of my lines drawn, I'm going to get out my little Fiskars trimmer here, and then I'm just going to cut them. Could you cut these by hand? Yes, you can. You don't need a paper trimmer for it. I chose to use a paper trimmer because I wanted my lines to be perfectly straight. And I just didn't trust myself cutting that long of a line and making sure it was perfectly straight. Now my trimmer has a metal wire in it that's a guide. So I can see exactly where I'm cutting, which is one of the reasons why this is my favorite trimmer. But I'm just going to go through and cut all of these. And as you can see on the left-hand side there, I'm just kind of lining them up as I'm going because these are the pieces that are going to fit next to each other with no gaps or anything like that. So I just wanted to make sure to maintain that order. So now I have those all done there. I'm going to go ahead and number them. So as I move them around, I know which ones go next to which ones. At the very end, it's not going to matter so much, but in the beginning, when you're trying to kind of rebuild that, you do want to know. So I set those off to the side, and I'm going to be doing some very light ink blending on my background. I'm starting with the grass portion of it. This is, what is this? Twisted Citron? Yep, that's what it is. Sometimes words just escape you. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm going to do, for the sky, the Salty Ocean, which is pretty much my go-to blue color. And then for the sun, I'm going to do Squeeze Lemonade. And, I did the mowed lawn first. I did add a little bit of extra shading for the mowed lawn. And then for the sky, I will also add some more shading, but it'll make more sense once we get there. It is super important in between each one of these colors that you're cleaning up because you don't want green in your blue sky. You don't want yellow in your blue sky. Because again, you don't want green in your blue sky, right? So once I'm like kind of switching in between colors, I am cleaning them up just to make sure I'm not cross-contaminating. Using the Salty Ocean. Oh, wow, Kelly. Pronunciation's hard today for me, I guess. I'm just going to use that. I'm not going to take it all the way to the corner. I want that top right-hand corner to be where my sun is. And so I want to make sure that I don't take the blue up too high. The same thing with the yellow. I'm going to make sure that when I am doing it, I don't bring it down too low. There will be this little bit of a white gap where the colors are super close to each other, but they don't quite meet. And again, that's just because, primary colors, blue and yellow make green. I don't want a green sky. You get the whole what I'm saying. So here, I'm using Blueprint Sketch, and I am going to add a little bit of extra shading underneath the clouds here. Eventually, this is going to get substantially darker, but this is just our base layer before we do the rays. Now, why are there two different colors? Like, why are there two different color intensities? This is Chip Sapphire. There's two different color intensities because if one wasn't lighter and one wasn't darker, you wouldn't be able to see the rays. There wouldn't be a distinction between them. And so you have to do a little bit of ink blending in the beginning and then a little bit more after you have the masks on. So here I've just kind of picked my starting point for where my sun is. I'm going to go ahead and start putting down my rays, and I'm just going to put them right next to each other. Some of them aren't long enough. Some of them don't cover the whole card. Don't worry about that right now. That's not even a thing for us right now. So I'm just going to put all of those in place. And then once I have them lined up, and it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. It really does not. I know on my last video, there was a wonderful lady who made the comment that she's really gets hung up on her card being perfect, and most of the time she has to accept that they're not. We all do, because they're not. There's no such thing as a perfect card. Like, it's okay. Doesn't make it any less beautiful or any less worth your time. So now I'm going to start removing some of the rays in between, and in doing that, because I know I'm not going to use them all, I only need certain parts of the mast. So as I'm removing them, I am going to take the ones that I'm removing. Here I didn't think I needed one up there. Eventually I am going to come back and put one up there, just because I didn't realize, I forgot that while I didn't need it on the cloud side, I did need it on the sun side. So here I'm just using the leftover rays to extend the ones I already have down to make sure that it is masked all the way throughout the card. And that's just, again, me being cheap. I could have cut new ones. I chose not to. And then here I'm just going to add in that ray. So now we're going to have these 4 rays that are open that will be darker than the rest of them. For the sun, my darker color that I'm going back over it first with the squeezed lemonade, and then it's pretty much the same colors I have already used. I'm just kind of building up the intensity of them so that they are a little bit darker. Eventually, once the once the rays are removed, I really didn't like how much contrast there was. It just really seemed like it was a bit too much. But that's okay, because there's a way to fix that too. And we will. You know how I feel about that. There's a way to fix everything. In this particular stamp set, there's a bunch of very encouraging sentiments, which was also part of what drew me to it. Because frequently in life, we all feel like we're in the storm, and sometimes we forget that on the other side of it is something that was well worth the trip for, So I think the sentiment that I chose was rainbows can't form without a store, something like that. We'll see at the end, because I don't remember, because I made this card a few weeks ago. So now you can see I'm kind of making the left-hand side of the card a little bit darker. This is where, the sun would be blocked from, where you have the more cloud cover. You're going to have a little bit of heavier shading. And all of that makes sense with what we have going on in our background setup here. So once all this is done and I'm happy with the way it looks, I'm going to go ahead and remove those rays. And you can see there is a pretty distinct difference between them. It's much darker, especially on the left-hand side. And I decided that this is where I wanted to tone down a little bit some of the rays. So I chose mustard seed, and I just went over that where the center of the sun is. And then I'm going to, you guys know I love the Perfect Pearls, but the Perfect Pearls also act as a wonderful, substitute, a wonderful, what are words? Replacement for rain. Like, I'm trying to create that look of rain. I can't think of the word that I want. It's probably not even that hard of a word. But sometimes the light catches it and you can see it. And so I wanted that look. So I'm just kind of blocking off the right-hand portion of my card in the beginning. I didn't want it to be super heavy over there. Obviously, there is still going to be some raindrops that are happening on the right-hand side of the card, but I didn't want them to be super heavy. Once I was happy with how that looked, and here you can see all the little speckles that would be catching the light. And then now here's where I'm going to go back in and fix the other things. So I picked some pine needles and just going to go right back over what's already there. This isn't going to completely get rid of the rays, but it is going to kind of soften that harsh edge. And it's going to be the same thing as we work our way up through them. So I started with the darkest color and then went out to the lightest color. I was not very heavy-handed on the right-hand side of the card, more the left-hand side of the card, because that's where I really added the shading when the masks were in place, and then just blended that all out again with the lightest color. And then I will do the same thing with the Salty Ocean, go back over those and just kind of blend them out a little bit so that it blends in with the grass a little more and blends out those super harsh lines from the masks. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and remove the masks so you can see. There's a couple of other little tricks that we did for the things in the background, but ultimately this is pretty much what the idea of what I had, how I wanted the sun rays to kind of shine through the clouds and really create that thunderstorm on the left-hand side, sunshine on the right-hand side. And then now we're going to get into the Copa coloring, which honestly, I mean, is the same as pretty much all my other Copa coloring, left to right, right to left. As far as like lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest. That's just how I lay my markers out. And then I'm going to add some grasses and then just do some coloring with the rainbow colors. I like to include as many of them as I can just because that makes sense to me and it makes my card a little bit more colorful since the majority of my focal point is this green, blue, yellow combination. Yeah, we're halfway through the video and we haven't even had story time just because there's so much stuff going on in the background there. So as far as life goes, what have I really even been doing? I told you that we ordered furniture, which is something that's been on our to-do list pretty much since we got married. I had bought furniture many years ago because when I got divorced, and so it was like I needed furniture for my house, so I purchased it, and that's what fit in the house at the time. This house is laid out a little bit differently, and the color scheme is a little bit different. Now, obviously, we could repaint, but I actually do very much like the color scheme of our family room. So we just decided that we were going to take the furniture that we already owned. He really didn't own too much of anything because if I am a cheap chicken, my husband is the cheapest chicken. Like, I am not competing with him. I'm not even in the same, we don't even play in the same ballpark, me and him, on the cheapness. Or frugalness for those of you who get offended by the word cheap. I don't, because I know it's true. So he really pretty much just had everything that was like hand-me-downs. Because he didn't want to spend any money on furniture. So he had like his parents' old couch and like an old dresser from a family member, which we didn't even bring here. We just threw in the dumpster, honestly. So there really wasn't too much that was salvaged furniture-wise from his bachelor pad. So we're going to put like I said, the furniture that I had purchased that's currently in our family room in the front room. And then we bought a couch and a chaise lounge. I never know if I'm saying that right. Because nobody in the world, there is no one, I challenge you to find me one person who likes to lay more than my wonderful husband. He does not like to sit. I mean, to sit at the kitchen table, like, forget about it. Unless we're eating dinner, he has no desire to sit at the kitchen table, which is very strange for me because growing up, I mean, we pretty much were just always in the kitchen. Like, the kitchen was where all the happenings were. You know, my mom was cooking dinner. We did our homework at the kitchen table. We played games at the kitchen table. Like, the kitchen table was where it was at. My husband's like, let's make it the kitchen family room table where I can lay. So originally he wanted recliners. Recliners are so expensive. Oh my gosh, they cost all the monies. So many pennies, the recliners. And the way that our house is set up is a very open, like, concept. So our kitchen flows into our like eat-in kitchen slash, it's not a dining room, like I have a formal dining room, so I guess it's the eat-in kitchen portion, and then that goes directly into our family room. So you can see the back of that couch, and that would be where the recliners would have to go. And there's just like not enough room, plus like I just told you, all the pennies that it would cost us. So then we were looking at a sectional, which I still do very much like the idea of a sectional, but here's where the sectional goes astray for me. The sectional goes astray for me because I lose a table. Like in that corner where they meet, I lose a table. Why is this problematic? This is my wonderful hubby thought I was out of my mind. So when I sit on the couch, it doesn't matter where the couch is located. When I sit on the couch, I sit on the couch where the arm of the couch is to my left-hand side because I am right-hand dominant. And so when I'm doing my cross-stitching, coloring, fill-in-the-blank hobby, because I cannot sit still and just do one thing at a time, I balance those things on the left, and that way I can use my right hand. So I have to have them there on the left-hand side, which is also where typically my table is. Like my table's on the opposite side of the arm. So that's where I put my beverages or snacks or whatever. So in order for us to get a sectional and him to have the lay down portion, I would be the one who lost the corner. Would lose the table, which is problematic for me. So now we're back to the drawing board about so I suggested an ottoman. He was not interested in an ottoman. I suggested one of them oversized stuffed chairs that also was not what he was interested in. So then we suggested this lounge situation, which he was, in the beginning, was not a big fan of, but has since come around to it. And like the one that we purchased basically it's a full seat. The one side is a full seat. It has an arm and a back and all that jazz. But about halfway through the back of the second seat is where it kind of like slopes off, and you would, it becomes like the lounge area. And then it's open because currently on our love seat, he is far too tall to lay on the love seat. His feet hang over the edge, or get scrunched up underneath him, and then add in the dogs who were trying to cuddle with you, and forget about it. Nobody's comfortable. Even me, who obviously my feet do not hang off nearly as much as his do when it comes to the love seat. But like if Molly or Emma gets up there with me, it's a smush situation. So that is what we decided to get. Our current end tables and coffee table are my mom's. She offered them up to me when I moved, after I got divorced, and I told her I would just because my grandmother had some in storage, and I said, I'll just take Graham's, and she was like, no, they're glass top, and I was like, that'll be fine. And she was so, in her mind, she envisioned peanut butter going directly through the glass, and so she would not allow me to have those tables, so she gave me her wood tables, and then she put those glass top tables in her dining room or living room until Graham was in the bed and it didn't matter. So back to this card real quick. I wanted it to look like storm clouds, so I knew I was going to be doing lots of grays. So pretty much I'm just adding shading from the bottom up. So the darkest part of my cloud is going to be on the bottom of it. It does end up looking a little like I just outlined it, which was not my intention. But that's just kind of how it was drawn and how they laid together. So that was what it was. And then I'm going to spare you the coloring of the entirety of the thing once you get the gist of it. I just move on to the next color so you can see. So that's our dining or our family room furniture. We did find a coffee table and some end tables to go with that as well. So we'll be moving my mom's along with this furniture into the front room. And then my bed set, was a queen. And so Eric's bed was a king. Avi, we're going with the king, right? I mean, I feel like that's just, it goes without saying. So the queen is in our spare, and then the king is now in our bedroom. And, but his bed is just on a, just on a frame, like just on a frame on wheels. And it's not, there's no like set portion to it. So we decided that we were going to purchase ourselves a set, and then we would take the queen set and we would put that in the spare bedroom so that everything was all matchy matchy. So I think that was, I mean, that's pretty much where we're at on the furniture portion of it. I think that's everything that we bought. Yeah, I think it is. So they all have a bunch of different times that they'll be coming in, because COVID really messed up the furniture service world, in which you can order and get things in a timely fashion. So we were told that they should be in by mid-May. So here's hoping. So as far as the card, everything is pretty much done, you know, as far as the coloring and everything. But in order to create that real, like that look of rain, we're going to do two different things. So first one's first is, you know, I love my white gel pen. I'm in love with it. All kinds of accents for the white gel pen. But I'm also going to use it as like little streaks to create rain. I'm not being super careful about, like I didn't make sure each line was solid. I just went about it real quick so that they would be a little bit sketchy and look more like rain. And I only put them underneath the rain cloud. Like you can see how they're on that angle. And then I outlined everything because that's what I do, because I got a real problem. And then the other thing I'm going to do to make that rain kind of come more to life, because Distress inks react with water, they also react to like your clear glitter pens. And so I'm going to go back in and do the same thing, like just with those little flicks with my glitter pen, my clear glitter pen. And so this will do two things. First of all, it's going to put down some glitter, which, hello, we love. Second of all, it's also going to move around that pigment, not a ton, but just enough where it's going to create like that streak look, that's really going to give us the look of rain. And I love the way that it came out. I think it's super cool. Here, I cannot figure out which way I'm supposed to set up my MISTI so that I can properly stamp my sentiment. So I apologize for that. It's not like I haven't done it, I don't know, 560 times on a whole bunch of other videos. But for this particular one, I just couldn't decide if I was left or right, or how I was opening, up, down, what was happening. So now I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment, kind of just on the bottom left-hand side, and just in black ink. I felt like it was pretty legible. I didn't really need to do anything. Yeah, rainbows only form after a storm. Look at that. 28 minutes ago when I started talking, I knew what I was talking about. So that's it. That's the whole card. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I will link this set and then the stencils as well, even though I didn't use them, in case you're interested, below. And thank you guys. I will catch you in the next video. Bye.